Super Milk, letting the sunshine in every day.
Now, a little over 3 months ago, 1-year-old Brandon Whelan was diagnosed with a large cyst on the right side of his brain. He has since undergone 3 brain surgeries in Temple Street Hospital.
But Brandon, who you can hear, he's in great form this morning actually. Brandon is just one of thousands of children across the country who have come to rely on the staff and equipment in Temple Street's Children's Hospital, a cause that has been at the forefront of Ireland AM for the past few weeks. And with your help, we're hoping to raise enough funds for the hospital to allow them to improve the unit with the most high-tech equipment available. But we still have a bit to go to reach our goal. So this morning, we're joined by Brandon, his parents, Joe Whelan and Sonia Kelly, along with Denise Fitzgerald from the Temple Street Fundraising Office. Good morning to you one and all. Good morning, Brandon. He's very happy there.
Yeah, he's doing well. Yeah.
He's okay.
He's discovered gravity because he's done his shoes there on the ground. Oops.
Sonia,
Mind that old table because it's
yeah,
pretty
take
heavy.
it out of the way.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Brandon's looks like any other little boy this morning. He's sitting there and he's well and he's happy.
Yes.
But he has been quite ill. Can you tell us? Oh, shoes off. No shoes, Dad. No shoes. Kick them off,
in
Brandon.
a sec now.
Can you tell us what he was diagnosed with?
He went for his 1-year checkup in last October, and the doctor said she was a bit worried about the size of his head. She said it was above average and they were kind of a bit worried, but he has a 4-year-old brother, Ben, whose head would be above average also. So
you thought nothing of it?
Nothing of it at all. And she said, I'd like to get a check just in case. So we headed in and we received a notification then from Temple Street to go in. It was about 2 weeks before Christmas for an ultrasound, which we're going to do through his fontanelle, I think.
Yeah, were you worried at that stage, or were you just like, this
no,
will be okay?
We actually, to be totally honest, we brought the other 2 children in as well. We brought Brooke and Ben in with Brandon, and we literally went in that day thinking in 10 minutes,
just
out 10
routine.
minutes. Yeah, thought nothing of it at all.
And what happened?
And when we arrived, they brought Brandon in. Joe went in with Brandon because I was keeping the other 2 under control, and they done an ultrasound, and straight away they printed out and she popped them up on the screen. And when they went up on the screen, we just looked, and straight away you could see that something wasn't right. You could kind of make out the brain on one side, and then the opposite side was just black. It was totally black, like there was nothing there at all.
And what did they say to you? What did they think it was?
They all headed off and they had their little consultation and stuff, and we were just kind of sitting there looking at the screen. It felt like hours, but it was 2-3 minutes. And she came back in and she just said, sorry, Brooke had actually started acting up as usual, and I had headed off with Brooke, and Joe rang me phone. He said, come back, he said there's something up. So when I came back and I went in, she just said he has a really large cyst.
He's all right, you can play with it. It's all right.
It really has it has a really large cyst on the right hand side of his brain.
A large cyst on the right hand side of his
Absolutely. There was nothing that could have prepared us for what they said. Like, it was absolutely devastating, but at the same time we were just like, how, who, where, what, why, when. We just, 1,000,001 things were going through our heads, and they came back and said one of the things that we didn't need to worry about was it was actually benign.
Okay.
And at the time, we knew nothing about cysts, and we were kind of like, we didn't know they could be benign, we didn't know they couldn't be. We were just kind of like, oh my God, there's something on his brain, it needs to come off. Gut reaction, we were like, oh my God, quick. And they came back and said, like, half the battle is it's not benign. You really, at this stage,
So that was the bit of good news that came out of the diagnosis,
100%,
Yeah.
we were just like, brilliant, absolutely excellent. And they said,
Oh, honey.
they said then that they were going to send him off for an MRI because it was so large, get it done the same day. So we went off and he actually had a CAT scan the same day, and they got a more detailed look of it. So they came back then to us and explained it was an arachnoid cyst, which would be shaped like a spider web. They said like it's around the brain. And and they came back and they said it was an arachnoid cyst which can never be removed. It would never be removed.
So how do they deal with it, or what's the plan?
What they hoped to do, what they actually done was they gave us a few options. There was 2 or 3 options that they said, and the first operation he needed to have done was an ICP, which is intracranial pressure. We just pick these words up as it goes on. And what they done was they inserted like a really thin wire, and they wanted to check the pressure off the cyst because they said it's so large, it must be affecting his eyes or ears. It must be affecting something in there in some way. So they done that, and the pressure readings were really, really high. So we knew.
So that's worrying then. That's when you,
that he had major pressure. So the next day then they done an MRI then the next day, and he had that done, so they got an even closer look. At kind of an MRI breaks it up and lets you know what it's made of, how large it really is. And they came back and said, okay, what they were going to do was fenestration. And that's the incision, the scar he has here on the side of his face. They actually opened up and went in, and they actually made a hole. They went through the skull and made a hole in the cyst, and it drained. So it was draining. They sealed it back up, and he came back down. Now, he had all the head bandages on and stuff. It was absolutely devastating. But he came down, and they said, hopefully now, fingers crossed, that was one of the options. We'll see how it goes.
And he's been okay since, and when did they bring him back?
No, it didn't work.
He actually didn't work. No,
Yeah.
it didn't actually work. We came home a couple of days later. He came home and he just constantly was vomiting all the time, and he stopped eating. He wasn't eating as much, and then it was 4 or 5 days later. It started to swell. Both incisions that they had made started to swell really, really bad. And when we went back in, they said no, it hadn't worked. There was too much fluid from the cyst.
They did a shunt, and that seems to be working, Joe.
They done
now.
it last Wednesday.
Yeah, last Wednesday. And he's okay now, or what's the prognosis, Joe?
I haven't seen him better, to be honest.
It's very form,
I haven't seen him better, yeah. Like, I mean, when he got the fenestration done with all the fluid going around and all, he was, as Sonia said, he was getting sick, and he wasn't on the best. I hadn't seen him run in about a month. You know, like, as
And
kids
he's
run
flying
around,
around
and
the
he's
place
flying around the
today.
place now. Yeah, so
See that, yeah.
I think the shunt was a great option. You know,
One of the reasons, and we're glad you came in to share the story, is obviously Temple Street have a huge challenge every year. Not only do they run the hospital, they've got to try and raise funds as well.
course, yeah.
In the ideal world, the government would say, here's your cheque for this year, guys.
If only, Aidan, if only.
Yeah, so, you know, a lot of people help and a lot of good organisations out there, and, you know, our viewers are brilliant. Denise, you have and it's a huge task to run the fundraising office in Temple Street. I mean, difficult times, but people are still very generous.
I think people are always very generous, especially to Temple Street.
Yeah.
They've had a very good experience. We've an amazing team of surgeons and nurses who support the families the whole time while they're with us. And I suppose our job is really to ensure that they have the best equipment and the best of everything, so that every child who walks through our doors has the best chance to survive and thrive, really, to be honest.
And your website is quite passive, it's quite, active, it's quite friendly, and people can donate on that as well, and there's a list of events that are coming up
We have a
there
lot of
too
events
as well.
happening.
Yeah.
We've an amazing team in the fundraising office who are always, they're mad busy. And I suppose what we wanted to ask maybe the Ireland AM viewers is if they could even they can't do something themselves, if they could organise an event and get their own communities behind it, because you never know the day or hour when we're going to be the ones. As a parent, I dread the day I'm coming in with my child in my arms.
And
so
it's an
that's the
all-Ireland
kind of
service.
thing.
You're not, just because you're based in Dublin, it's not a Dublin hospital. Children from all over the country.
We've over 125,000 children every year pass through our doors from all corners of Ireland. And before we took over this service, some of our children would have had to go to adult hospitals to get brain surgery, removal of brain tumours, or even abroad as well. So to be able to do this at home here in Ireland is an amazing thing. We have brilliant surgeons who've trained all over the world, and nursing staff to back that up, and they're just fantastic. So we just want to make sure that the equipment that they have is the best they can get.
Just before we give you the full details of Temple Street, the bank account numbers will be on screen. The village in Clonegg is going to have a big fundraiser next week. Tell us more about that.
We actually organised. We've never actually done it before, and we didn't know much about it. But me and Joe had a brainwave there the other night, and we just said we'd actually have a waxathon. So
Joe's going to be losing all of his body hair.
that's it, yeah.
Fair play, Joe. Fair play.
Joe's never been waxed before, so you are in for a treat, sir. You'll really enjoy it.
We wish you well with that, guys, and we
Thanks
wish you well
really.
with everything. And Brandon, it was lovely to meet you.
Thanks very much.
Now, the reason why you have been listening to Brandon's story, and we should say hello to Ben and Brooke, actually. A big wave to Ben and Brooke, who are obviously Brandon's brother and sister. The reason we've been listening to Brandon's story this morning is that we want to help raise much needed money and funds for the hospital. Our goal is to raise an amount of €250,000 so that the hospital can buy an operating microscope, a piece of equipment that is vital to any brain surgery, and we can't do it alone.
Yeah, we need your help, and we are pleading with you this morning to donate to this very worthy cause. Now, there are a number of ways that you can donate. The first is by bank account, and the details of Temple Street's bank account are now on screen. AIB Artane, sort code 932078, the bank account number 17990491.
Or you can, of course, log onto the Temple Street website at www.templestreet.ie. templestreet.ie, where you'll see a donate link. You just click, it's on the right-hand side of the homepage, just click on that link and it will take you to all of the information about how to donate. And finally, you can log on to the hospital's My Charity webpage. That's www.mycharity.ie. And remember, every little bit helps.
Yeah, log on. Throw at least a €5 worth in there, we're grand. All right, we're going to take a little break. We're back with the final bit of Ireland AM this Friday morning. See you in a few minutes.
See you in a few minutes.